Clive Standen, first of all, congratulations. The ratings are in for the second season of Vikings, and it's 3.4 million people, average viewers. It sets a record for not only History Channel, but cable TV on a Thursday night. Wow! How'd you do that?
I have no idea how we do it. I'm a UK actor still at the moment. I still live in the UK, so we kind of work our asses off on the show, and then I go back to the UK, and I have no idea how any of the ratings are, if anyone's watching the show at all, until after it's aired, and I start kind of prepping for season 3. So I'm just thrilled, and I'm really thankful that everyone's taken our little show on board, and we get to do another outing on season 3.
What do you think the secret sauce is? You know, a lot of people I talk to say, for example, that they look at this and they say, wow, it's a show about barbarians, but barbarians are us. The big surprise of Vikings is these people are sophisticated. These people are smart. They're not animals grunting, kind of things. These are very modern stories, right? Yeah,
well, I don't think human beings have changed very much in hundreds and hundreds of years. We are all motivated by the same things. As far as families come, we all love our children. We all love our siblings. Our wives and husbands, all that kind of stuff is the same, and the things and the lengths we'll go to protect our families. You just need to be in those circumstances to realize what you're really capable of. Whether you're going to fight or flight, whether you're going to stand up and be accounted for your actions. Everyone has crossroads, and if you're in the right or wrong circumstances, you're capable of anything, really.
So let's talk about your. All right, so let's talk about your family situation in this show, which is interesting, of course. You start off as your brother's comrade in arms, then you rebel, and then he forgives you, and then you don't accept it. So what's going on in your story arc with this relationship with your brother? It's really fascinating because it's not predictable.
It's very Faustian, I think. I think Rollo is at a stage where he's prepared to give in everything, to trade in the one person who has his back to be king for a day, and he thinks that's going to make him happy. He thinks that the things that are missing in his life are those things: power, recognition, having a name in society. And he doesn't realize that it's a marathon, not a sprint. He thinks he can get all those things overnight, and he feels that he's been in the shadow of his brother for far too long. And something I can relate to, just being a husband and a father, is that sometimes you lose yourself and you really don't understand what you've lost until you let them go. And he does love his brother, and he's not capable of following through with Jarl Borg's plan, which is to decimate Ragnar's army and wipe Ragnar out. But I think it almost makes him. He has to go through the ringer, through the whole series. Because once Ragnar takes him back, he has to do. He has to save Kattegat from Jarl Borg. He has to protect his brother's children. For the first time in his life, he's found some kind of sense of responsibility. He's found meaning. I think he's very, very empty and ugly inside. And I think, in Rollo's words himself, he's reborn. He's a snake that has shed his skin. I think he says in episode 7. So this is a new Rollo that knows what it is to be a leader now. He knows that it's not just himself that he has to take into consideration. Before he was very hedonistic. He only really cared about himself. He lived on the margins. He hasn't got a family like Ragnar. And now I think he's had a sense of, to be a leader of men, you have to be accountable. You have to take responsibility for your actions. You need to know when to run and when to hide. And this is a new Rollo that Ragnar doesn't know how to deal with either. So that makes that dynamic change, and it's going to change immensely in season 3.
In the original legends that this story is based on, that this series is based on, does Ragnar have a brother?
No, this is the one thing. I mean, Michael tries to keep things as historically accurate as possible, but there's so many great Vikings in these sagas that it would be unfair to the actors, the audience, and everyone involved if we were to just introduce you to a character and then suddenly go almost 50 to 100 years into the future and introduce you to another character. So in order to keep the world alive, you sometimes have to amalgamate characters into one. You sometimes have to bend the truth a little bit, because Ragnar was a fierce warrior. He's written about in the sagas. He's almost mythical, like the King Arthur in the Arthurian legend. He's not necessarily a true live character. some of the things I've written about him are fantastical and larger than life. But Rollo really is the Duke of Normandy. He was the great-great-grandfather to William the Conqueror. You look in the history books or you Wikipedia Rollo, you'll see it all there for you to at least have a basis, a start to kind of realise the lineage that Rollo sets up. But in order to get both of those storylines out in a drama series, the easiest way to do it is to parallel them. And then Michael has made them brothers, and I think it's a very clever thing, because then you're able to see both paths of two magnificent Vikings, and you don't have to sacrifice either story. They can both play in tandem.
So you're from Northern Ireland, right?
I was born in Northern Ireland. I didn't stay there very long. I was moved over to the mainland in England when I was about 3 or 4.
Okay, so either place.
I never remember 3, 4, or 5 years old. I was very young when I moved over. My dad was in the army, so I was based over in Northern Ireland when I was born. But he kind of walked out of my life. So
okay, well, even or England, I'll take either place. The point I'm trying to make here is if you go back 1,300 years, right, or is it more than that? My math could be off here. Then you would actually be fighting these barbarians coming to the shore, right? I mean, so you're from this part of the world. The story is these guys coming over into the British Isles, and then of course we know that season 3 beyond they spread on. So
yeah, we're going to France in season 3. There's a little kind of tempter for you. No one else knows that. We've just been told that we're going to Paris.
Yes. To Paris, you're going to sack Paris with 1,000 ships or something that Michael was saying. Wow.
120 ships, I think.
120 ships. All right, well, I'm exaggerating here. So I didn't even know you could fit that many ships on the River Seine. But
that's... I said we got to get the oceans in.
That's right. So you have also said recently that in season 3 we're going to see Leif Erikson, we're going to see Alfred the Great. So this show is really going to reach out and bring in a lot more of the historical figures.
Yeah, you won't get that in season 3. I didn't say Leif Erikson in season 3, but I think my point was that we're still just hitting the tip of the iceberg with the Vikings, and now series 3 with these 120 boats and the sacking of Paris, you're starting to get the golden age of the Vikings, when the Vikings really did start conquering continents. And what comes after that. The end of the Viking Age really was Leif Erikson, discovering America, and so all that is so far away. But what I mean is that this series has many more seasons to tell. If people are continuing to enjoy the story, it can go on and on and on, because the Vikings did so much through history that still just the story of Ragnar and Rollo is just the start of things. I mean, his sons are still children in our show, and each of those sons, Ivor the Boneless, Björn Ironside, and all of the children, they all go on to do fantastic things.
This is a very physical. This is a very physical role for you, and your background is in martial arts. You've been a boxer and all of this stuff. What's the most I don't know, physical thing you've had to do on this series? The biggest jump, the most spectacular thing you've had to do? Stunt.
Well, nothing can compare to the first episode of season 2, because it's not just to do with the stunts. It was a very unforgiving weather that week that we filmed, and we had a heat wave in Ireland. We were filming in a quarry where the dust was picking up, and it was baking hot. Some of the stunt guys were on the verge of getting sunstroke. But I had usually when you're fighting stunt guys, they've got pads hidden underneath their armor, and I'm fighting with no armor. I've got my top off. I'm running and screaming and slamming into real wooden and metal shields, metal spears. I really did, that's kind of like where we started Rollo's journey, and it didn't really get any less relentless through the season 2. I was getting smashed around left, right, and center. So I do everything myself to date. Anyway, I'm always fighting with the insurance people to let me do everything myself. And so in that, I'm jumping over shield walls, and I'm rolling in the dirt, and it really took its toll. I remember I was in bits for days after that, walking around. Yeah, Quasimodo with a dodgy back, but I'm glad I did it, because I think people were really there with Rollo and Ragnar and the rest of us behind the shield wall. I think it kind of really adds to the drama if you can see the real guys, getting in the thick of things.
There's a lot of people get killed on this show. Do you have any idea how many people Rollo has killed? I mean, if you actually went through the episodes and how many times he ran somebody through with a sword. Do you have any idea?
Travis and I and a few others, we started off in season 1, we started like a little tally of counting. We also started a tally of counting the main characters that got killed off. And we just gave up because it just gets there's some of it's easy enough in skirmishes, but when you start organizing battle sequences, you have to lose count of how many die, and then you never see how much gets edited in. So I can always argue that the stuff that they cut out of the episode, I killed hundreds more.
That's true, I guess. Right. So take us through a typical shoot. There are 10 episodes per season, so how much time is actually spent shooting an episode, and what's your day like? Do you have to be at the set at 7 a.m., or how does that work?
It's not an average TV show, to be honest. It's relentless. You get up, the average day, for instance, is you get up at about 4:30 because we stay in Dublin and we shoot about an hour and a half away from where we all stay. So you get a minibus pick us all up one by one in the morning, and we go up and we travel in the darkness, and you try and get a little bit more sleep at the back of the minibus. And then you get up to the top of a small hill or a mountain, which is where base is. There's no trailers and all this thing that usually people imagine comes with being an actor and all that diva mentality. We just get out, and it's usually wind blowing everywhere. We're in the elements in Ireland, and we get into our costumes, and then we get into another car that takes us usually further up a mountain to wherever we're going to be filming that day. And you're stuck there for the rest of the day. So sometimes you might be unfortunate to have a lot of waiting around, which comes part and parcel of being on a film set. But sometimes you're in every single scene, and there's a hailstorm, and you're kind of filming and then going into a little tiny zip-up black canvas tent to get out of the hailstorms. And so it's pretty much you are just there in the elements, working all day until the very end of the day when it's reversed and you go back down the mountain and get dropped off at home about 9:30 at night. And you start learning lines for the next day or the next block. And then in between there, even if you've got a day off and you're not needed that day, you'll be at the stunt camp learning the fight scenes and the stunts or whatever it is you need to do in the next episode, and the riding. We also have lots of rowing. All of the actors that you see in the show, we have all learned now to row the longboat ourselves.
Oh, wow.
So every single actor is rowing that boat. We've got 10 actors, sometimes 20 actors, depending on the size of the longboat, rowing on each side. We've got, usually my job is climbing up and down the ropes and unfurling the sail and holding the sail in place if we're on the sea. Because in season 2 we actually shot on the Irish Sea. We weren't just in the lakes and the fjords. So yeah, it's not only horse riding boot camp you have to worry about in Vikings. It's longboat boot camp, and it's grueling when you're having to row and row, take after take. When someone gets it wrong, or the boat just veers to the left and the camera loses sight of the boat, then you've got to set it all up and row again, and you start throwing stuff at the guy that wasn't keeping pace in the rowing. But yeah, I wouldn't trade it in for anything else. It's a great job, and it's a full-on experience.
You have been placed in the Emmy category for supporting actor. If you are nominated, you have to pick one episode as an example of your best work. Do you what episode would you pick for the Emmy jury if you made the nominees list?
It's a really hard question to answer, really, because I think it's not my job as an actor. I have to think about my character's arc. So all of it, to get a sense of my performance and to get a sense of Rollo, you kind of have to follow the character through the whole series. It's very, I mean, I know your question, and I think it is answerable, but it's like when you watch, I recently watched Captain Phillips, and everyone talks about Tom Hanks's very last scene, where he's in shock, and it's an incredible scene, but if you watch it stand alone, it won't make any sense to you. You won't be as moved. You have to go through the whole film of Captain Phillips to break down, and I nearly cried when I watched him do that scene, but I only cried because I was with him for the whole journey. So it's very hard to kind of select one scene for Rollo in season 2. So there's the action side of it, there's the physical side where I have to transform myself. In episode 2, when we get 4 years into the future, I go from the berserker who's pumped up and he's high on magic mushrooms and he's fighting in episode 1, and in season 2 he's a shadow of his former self. He's an alcoholic, he's a drunk, and I had to try as quick as I can in a TV schedule. I had to try and transform my posture because I couldn't transform my body in time. So it was all about posture and finding a resonance in my voice that could. Yeah, he almost had hypothermia when you pick him up in season 2, and so that was a big acting challenge. But it's hard to single out. I can single out moments, but I can't single out episodes. It's going to be tough.
Okay, well, you have some time to think about it.
Leave that that's the execs who know about those kind of things.
But you have to know how to play the Emmy game here, Clive. If you want to win these awards, you have to be shrewd. And the history of the Emmys.
Well, the thing is, I got into acting because I wanted to draw attention away from myself. I think I'm quite a boring person, and I love playing different people and experimenting those kind of things. I kind of almost feel like you know, when you're doing an Emmy campaign, you're almost drawing the attention towards yourself, and still find that very hard. And you know, this is the first job I've done where people have taken notice of me, and I'm flattered, and I just want it to keep going. So I find it really hard to kind of play that game. You know, I don't know how to play the game yet, so I'm just quite happy immersing myself in my characters.
Awards are really, really important. I mean, look at The King's Speech as a movie, right? How much money would that movie have made if it hadn't won Best Picture at the Oscars? 5 cents. It made $400 million worldwide. It became a phenomenon, and so awards are, you know, are important in many ways. The Emmy historically in the United States has made shows like Cagney and Lacey, Cheers, Hill Street Blues, All in the Family, mega hits when no one knew they were even on TV. So it's a fun game. I know it's hard on your part, and it's embarrassing to put yourself out there as a candidate, but to just look at it as another stunt, you know, as another running field, as another Olympic race that you're running. It's a sport, you know.
Well, I think I'm episode 1 and episode 2, maybe episode 1 over the second episode, just because of the pure brutality of this character and what he was capable of, and he literally decimates most of the characters in the show, and the actions that Rollo takes in that first episode have a knock-on effect to nearly everybody in the show. And I think I had very little time to make that impact, and I think, you know, I was very proud of what I achieved with this character that you meet at the very beginning, and he is this formidable warrior who is raging inside until where you see him when he can't kill his brother, and he's just in bits. He realizes that what he's traded in, you know, the one thing that he loved, he didn't know how much he loved until he lost it. And unfortunately, as we all know, if people have been in that situation where you've left the one you love, then it's often too late, and nothing will ever be the same again, even if you recapture it.
Well, that's a beautiful way to end our chat here. Thank you very much, Clive. Good luck with the Emmys, and in season 3, you've got a hit on your hands. That's what every actor dreams of, right?
Yeah, well, I think there's still what I'm happy about is when I talked about Rollo's arc, is that I'm happy that after talking to Michael, and I'm starting to see how this is planning out now, and that's for me to know and you to find out. But there's still a long journey for me, and I'm looking forward to kind of getting to grips with where Rollo's going in season 3, because I think it's going to be a challenge.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.